Okay, good morning ladies and gentlemen. My name is Craig Johnston. I'm a sales engineer with Sophos in Sydney, and I'd like to welcome you along to this presentation. We're going to be talking about Sophos Mobile Control. Just bear with me a little bit. I'm unfamiliar with this webcast application, so I might be fumbling through just a little bit. I'd just like to spend a minute or two first giving a quick overview of Sophos. People tend to think of Sophos as an antivirus company, but we do a hell of a lot more than antivirus. We cover basically the whole scope of security requirements. We have, of course, we have our endpoint security products. We have web security and email security. We've got a stack of encryption products to basically cover all your encryption requirements. We have the mobile control products, which I'm going to talk about this morning, and we also have our network security products through our recent acquisition of Astaro. Just looking at this basically wheel showing all our capabilities, there's a hell of a lot involved here. You can see we also do NAC, network access control. With our endpoint products as well, we have capabilities such as device control and application control and data control. These all help with the control of data leakage and provide data leakage protection. So we've pretty much got all the bases covered these days. And of course, as I said, we recently acquired Astaro, and Astaro basically covers the requirements for network security. With the Astaro security gateway, we can provide wireless security, network security, web application security, of course, firewalls, VPNs, and email security. So let's talk about Sophos Mobile Control. That's what we're here for. What we found in the last year or two is that there's a growing demand for the use of mobile devices in the corporate space. And a recent poll by Forrester found that, and this was last year, so it's probably even greater now, certainly is greater now, that 11%. There was an 11% increase in the support for Android devices in business environments, and 29% of companies surveyed were already supporting iOS devices. I'm quite certain that's considerably higher now. So what do you need to do with this situation where you're having more and more mobile devices actually being utilised in corporate environments? Well, probably the main driver for these mobile devices is to allow access to corporate email on the devices. Given that we're going to have corporate information on these devices, then we need to worry about what's going to happen to that information on the devices if the device is lost or stolen. Of course, if you are going to have corporate information and applications running on the devices, then you may be concerned as well about what applications are actually running on the devices. And depending on the circumstances, you may be able to dictate entirely what applications are running on the device, or have some control at least over what applications can and can't run on the devices. Of course, if you want to have some control over these devices, ideally you want to make it as simple as possible to use. And therefore, with the Sophos Mobile Control product, we've designed things so that the support and management of the devices is really as simple as possible. So if we have a look at these in a little more detail, we talk about allowing email access on these devices. We really have two likely scenarios here. We have the situation where corporate organisations or government organisations provide the devices to staff, and so therefore they may be able to decree that the devices are to be used purely for business purposes. We also have the circumstance where some organisations are allowing staff to bring their own devices to the workplace and being provided with the ability to, for example, access corporate email or government email from their mobile devices. So we've got the situation where if it's a device that is supplied by the organisation, like government for example, then the IT support and management would more than likely want to have complete control over the device and be able to specify what's running on the device and what's the acceptable behaviour and usage of that device. Whereas you've also got the situation where people that supply their own devices, they want to have their own applications, they want to have their own stuff, their games, etc., and their social networking side of things. But then, and being their own device, then the organisations can't necessarily dictate what can and can't be run on the device, but you still need to be able to at least secure the corporate-based information. So when it comes to allowing email access, with Sophos Mobile Control, we can hook into the Microsoft ActiveSync Exchange proxy and provide access to Microsoft Exchange on the devices. Also, if you're using Lotus Notes and Domino, then if you use the Traveller plugin, then we can also hook in and provide access to Notes email as well. And all these settings can be done over the air so that you can actually configure the device without having to actually lay your hands on it. With this access to email and also possibly your own corporate-based or government-based applications, you then have to be concerned about what's going to happen to that information on the phone if the phone is phone. I say phone. Devices, some of them they're not all phones. What's going to happen to these devices if the device is lost or stolen? Given that they're now far more mobile, far smaller and more powerful, that means that they can hold a lot more corporate sensitive information on them, but they're also a lot easier to lose. And it's certainly been known before for people to lose them out of a jacket pocket or out of a pocket of your pants. Possibly in the back of the cab at 2 o'clock in the morning, and therefore we've got you find yourself with an employee with one of your devices in the hands of a cabbie at 2 o'clock in the morning potentially. And so you need to be concerned about what's going to happen, not so much about the device. The device is probably a few $100s worth. You can probably live with a loss of a few $100s, but when it comes to the information that's on that phone, that could cost you considerably more than a few $100s if that information was made public, potentially. So what we have with the Sophos Mobile Control is we have the ability to remotely lock or wipe the device. There's two ways of doing this. One is that if a person has misplaced or can't find their device, they can contact the IT support people. They can get onto our console and they can remotely lock or wipe it. But the other thing that a user can do, or the owner of the device can do, is they can actually log into a self-service portal which we provide. So for example, if I lost my phone, for example, going home in the cab, I get home and go, oh no, it looks like I'm going to have trouble getting it back. Instead of having to contact John at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, John, can you please wipe my device or lock my device to make sure no one can get access to it at 2 o'clock in the morning? I can go home, I can get onto my computer at home, I can go to the self-service portal and I can lock my phone or even, if necessary, wipe the phone myself and then go in tomorrow morning and tell the boss the bad news. So that's a great relief that it can be done remotely. So if you've lost control of the phone, at least you can instantly lock it. And then if it looks like you're not going to get back, then you may have to cut your losses and wipe it. Applications, of course, ideally you want to have some control over the applications that are running on the device. As I said, that may vary depending on whether it's a device that is owned by the employee or whether it's a device that's been supplied by the corporation or the government authority. In which case, our capabilities vary from platform to platform, and that's because of with the different platforms, there are different access that we have and functions available to us. So it varies a little bit from platform to platform. With iOS devices, we can actually prohibit the installation of applications. We can even actually remove access to the Apple Store, for example. So you could actually remotely remove access to the Apple Store on a device, and so a user can't then just go to the Apple Store and spend up a mozza on buying apps, etc. on the store. So you can prohibit that, and then if they do have a legitimate reason to download or purchase an app from the store, then you can actually give them back that access while they do that and then take the access away. So you can prohibit a variety of applications on the phones with iOS devices. With Android type devices, you can actually install and delete applications on the devices. And also on the console, you can actually get a full inventory of a whole bunch of information about the devices. And I'll show that to you when I give you a brief demonstration of the console. So you can also push down applications, and you can configure them correctly so that basically they just get sent down to the device, installed, they're configured the way you want, and away they go. A good example of that might be a VPN client, for example. So as I said, we've set things up to make it as easy as possible. I'll give you a demonstration of the Sophos Mobile Control console in a minute, and you'll see that it's really quite straightforward and intuitive. As I said, we can lock and wipe the devices remotely, either via the console or via the self-service portal. Everything can be done over the air. So if you've got a device that is not geographically nearby, if you've got covering a very large geographical area, for example, the device can be registered by the Sophos Mobile Control console, or it could be registered by the self-service portal. The profile or Sophos Mobile Control client can be downloaded and configured on the device all over the air. And so in actual fact, the IT support people never need to physically lay their hands on the device. The device can have Sophos Mobile Control installed, configured, and the device can be controlled all over the air. And the application can then be removed at a later time, so the IT support desk never even have to actually touch the device, which can be very handy, particularly if we're talking about great distances. So as I said, the Sophos Mobile Control is an MDM, a mobile device management solution. We can configure devices, we can address the concerns about loss and theft. We can support personal devices that employees own because we can control some of it, but we don't have to control all of the device if that's what you need to do. We have the self-service portal, which can make the life of IT support a lot easier. The devices that we're supporting at the moment are Apple, Android, and Windows Mobile. This table here gives you
put them all on.
Of what we can
Takes a long time, don't worry.
What we can do and we can't do. In fact, basically, it says all the things we can do. As you can see, we also have device status reporting, which will give you, as I mentioned, quite a bit of information about the devices. The supported platforms, Windows Mobile is Windows Mobile 6X, iOS 4 for the iOS devices, and Android 2.2 and 2.3 are the platforms that we currently support. So features of the platforms, I've pretty much covered most of those. We also have the capability, one of the things that I didn't mention is the ability to enforce password strength and complexity. We found that it's very important to have a passcode and the ability to lock the devices. A surprisingly large number of devices don't actually get locked. The users don't bother with locking the devices.